Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Buenos días, compañeros. Muchas gracias por atender esta sesión de entrenamiento. Good morning, folks. Thank you again for joining us. Buenos días, Darlene. Buenos días, Adriana. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining today.
Buenos días.
Buenos días, Guadalupe.
No, Xochitl. Es que entré con el de Guadalupe porque no encontré el mío.
Ah, vaya, no hay problema.
Esta también está por acá. No sé
Oh,
dónde,
qué
pero
bueno.
en algún
Vienen en grupo.
de los Space está por ahí.
Excelente, muchas gracias.
Buenos días, Raúl Moreno de Fresno.
Buenos días, Raúl.
Raúl, ¿de dónde? ¿De Fresno?
En Fresno.
Bien
Acá
caliente.
estamos para cuando nos visiten en Fresno, me eche una llamada.
Está bien caliente por allá, Raúl.
Nos apuntamos, Raúl.
Oh, no se apure, el calor nomás nos da más fuerza.
Eso
¿De
sí.
qué organización, Raúl?
¿Cómo?
¿De qué organización?
De Moreno Seeds Foundation. Es mi propia organización y nosotros ayudamos a los jóvenes inmigrantes a que se preparen a trabajar después de ir a la universidad.
Wow, qué bueno.
¿De dónde es usted?
Me consigo San Mateo County, estamos en el San Mateo, en Bay Area.
Ah, qué bien.
Tenemos varios programas y una organización de Fresno está con nosotros en una coalición que se llama Chelios, que depende de la Comisión de Utilidades Públicas de California.
Excelente. Pues cuando conozca gente que vaya a venir para acá, para el centro de California, dígales de nosotros.
Si puedes mandar en el chat tu información y así tengo la posibilidad de guardarla.
Ahorita la voy a poner.
Ok, gracias.
Excelente, me encanta que pudieron conectarse. En un momentito vamos a comenzar. Good morning, folks. We're going to get started in a little bit. We still have a lot of folks trickling in.
No, pues soy Guadalupe.
Good morning. Buenos días, compañeros. We're at 10:03. We're going to let folks keep trickling in, but I'm going to pass it over to Chloe, who'll be facilitating today. Compañera, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I think I'm going to give it one more minute. I still see folks coming in. Want to make sure we have critical mass before we get started. But my name is Chloe Hermosillo. I am the legislative advocate with the California Immigrant Policy Center. I'll be co-presenting today with my colleague Anayeli. Anayeli, did you want to give a brief intro?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Anayeli Martin, Legislative Assistant with CIPC. So happy to see you all here.
Just going to give it a few more seconds while we get started, while folks are saying good morning in the chat. So happy to see all of you this morning. We are less than a week out. How is everyone feeling? Emoji in the chat. The CIPC team is excited and stressed in the best way. Seeing thumbs up, seeing excited. Love to see it. Anieli will be going over this at the end of the presentation as well. But if you haven't If you're still unsure what's going on with your legislative visit and you signed up for them, make sure to follow up to any emails, or otherwise you may have if you're scheduling yourself, you may have gotten emails from our movement building team, either Jesus Ramon, Xochitl, or Beatriz. And if you're scheduling by yourself, just a reminder to update the roster so we know where everyone is going on the day of. Perfect. It's 10:05 and we have a packed agenda, so I'm going to get started. Today, as a lot of you probably know, we're going to go over the lobby lead training and how to have the most efficient meetings on
Hi.
idea. Oh, yeah, Beatriz.
So sorry for to turn on
I can hop in there. I think what Beatriz is trying to say is, can we let our interpreters have a moment just to guide our audience on how to enable interpretation? Vamos a pausar un momentito antes de que continúe Chloe para que nuestros intérpretes puedan compartir las instrucciones para la interpretación en español. También brevemente antes de esa pausa, vamos a estar compartiendo un enlace para las diapositivas en español. Es mucha información la que vamos a compartir, así que si gustan repasar esa información mientras continúe la presentación con el texto en español, por favor esté revisando su chat. Muchísimas gracias. Se la paso a los intérpretes y después a Chloe.
Good morning, everyone. The following message will repeat in Spanish. In a moment, you will see the interpretation feature turned on. Please select your preferred language by clicking the globe icon at the bottom of your screen, or by tapping into the three dots of your phone or tablet and select language interpretation. Choose English or Spanish as your preferred language. Select language, select mute original audio, and click done to activate your interpretation feature. If a participant speaks in English, the interpreter will provide real-time interpretation into Spanish. For technical assistance, please let us know via chat and we will be happy to help. Bienvenidos a todos. En un momento usted verá que la interpretación o función de interpretación será activada. Asegúrese de seleccionar su idioma de preferencia haciendo clic en el icono del globo terráqueo al pie de su pantalla, o los tres puntitos en su teléfono o tableta y seleccione interpretación o language interpretation según su formato. Elija inglés o español como su idioma de preferencia. Seleccione silenciar el audio original o mute original audio según su formato y luego presione finalizar o done según su formato para activar la función de interpretación. Si un participante habla en inglés, el intérprete interpretará automáticamente todos los comentarios al español en tiempo real. Si necesita ayuda técnica o asistencia, no dude de comunicarse con nosotros a través del chat y con gusto le ayudaremos. Muchas gracias. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Edgar. Just uplifting some chat. It seems like a few people can't find the interpretation button. Want to confirm that everyone can see that before we get started. Good. I'm seeing a thumbs up. Okay. Yay. Thank you to the tech team. And I'm glad that we're all on the same page. So let's get started. If we could go to the next slide, please. So this is what we'll be covering today in our agenda. Number one, I just want to do a grounding and remind us all why we are coming up for Immigrant Day of Action, and more importantly, why it's so important that we go to these lobby visits and make our voices heard to elected officials and their staff. Next, we're going to go over a step-by-step of what your meeting will look like. A step-by-step agenda to be specific, and other things to expect on the day of when you're physically at this. It's called the swing space, and I will review that more towards the end of the agenda. We'll have time for Q&A, and then I'll pass it to my colleague Anayeli to go over scheduling updates for the lobby visits. Before we get started, I do want to acknowledge that I see some new faces in here. I see some faces that are not new. are not new to lobbying and meeting with electeds. So for new folks, I hope this is really helpful as you go in for your first time. And for more seasoned folks, I hope this can provide a couple reminders that maybe we've forgotten along the way. Okay, so part one, why we do lobby visits. If we could go to the next slide. Why we do lobby visits in Sacramento. Number one, it's an opportunity for members and staff to learn about our priorities. There's only a few of us up in Sacramento. There's not much. So when we have this many people come out, it's super important and we can get to a large majority of members. Number two, members care about the needs of their constituents. It's who got them in office, it's who they go home to every weekend, and they deeply care about what affects their communities. Number three, your voice as community leaders and impacted individuals is critical. It's something that advocates, though we may have some experience, we don't have the experience that you all have in community, in partnership with local community, and your perspective and your input is extremely important to characterize the policy that we're advocating for in Sacramento. And you bring something that folks up here oftentimes can't bring. And number four, your presence is a visual representation of how impactful the work we do is. We currently have 1,100 people RSVP'd for IDA. When folks can see physically how many people care about this issue and how passionate people are, it really goes a long way into ensuring that our priorities make it to the governor's desk. Next slide. So now that we've grounded ourselves in what we can bring to the table, I'll next go over preparing for your visits and what to expect. Next slide. This is the program agenda, which you may have seen in the policy platform training if you attended that last week. It's the same thing. What's most applicable here is the check-in beginning at 8:30. So for lobby leads, you're going to go check in with general registration first, and then you're going to come to the legislative lead table where we'll get you set up with your lobby lead packet. And we'll be there to answer questions as you arrive. We'll also be, Anayeli and myself will be at that table from 10 a.m. to 2:30 for the sole purpose of being an info hub. So if you have any last minute questions, if there's any last minute changes to your meeting, if you want to do, role play, if it's your first time, we will be there all day to provide support. And finally, I think there was one other thing. Ongoing throughout the day, we will have a schedule, which is why it's so important to fill out that roster if you're scheduling your own meetings so we can keep track of it. I think we all know when we go to lobby days, we can oftentimes lose track of time. So we'll have that at the lobby lead table as well. Next slide. And this is a copy of the program agenda that will be included in when you register at the registration table and in your lobby lead packet. Next slide. Okay, the basics, what to bring to your visit. So again, as I said, you'll bring your lobby lead packet, which will be provided to you at check-in. It will include the legislative visit guide, which I'll be referencing throughout this presentation. So really pay attention to the tips that I'm sharing in this call, and this presentation will be shared back out with you, but all the other information will be provided in that legislative visit guide, so don't worry about that. Number two, it'll include a policy backgrounder to give you a refresher on what our policy platform is. Number two, it'll provide a legislative report back form, which I'll get into later, and it'll provide a number of resources to prepare you for your visit. Number two is comfortable shoes. It's about a 5-minute walk from where the rally will be to what's called the swing space, which is where all the legislative offices will be. Furthermore, the elevators get super busy, so if you're able and if you're willing, we would strongly recommend using the stairs in the swing space. All that being said, comfortable shoes are a must for the rally day. Even though you're lobbying, no need to wear heels or other uncomfortable shoes. It's super normal to wear like our IDA shirt and tennis shoes. Number three is a pen and notebook. Oftentimes it's really helpful to have something to write questions down if a staff has a particular question. So would recommend bringing that. Water. It'll be about 80 degrees that day in Sacramento, and we'll be outside. You'll be walking back and forth. So would strongly encourage bringing water. We'll also have that available for you in the rally area. And there's also water refill stations in the swing space. So if you bring your own water bottle, that's also available to you. And finally, business cards, if you have them. It's really important to make connections while you're up in the swing space, particularly if you're visiting with your elected representative. It's great to make that connection so you can connect later down the road in district. Next slide. Prior to your meeting, and again, this is all in our legislative visit guide, but number one is introduction. So introduce yourself as the legislative lead facilitator to other participants and have each participant introduce themselves to the group. This I know is particularly easy when you're coming from the same organization. We do have some groups that have multiple organizations from the same district joining. So if you are the legislative lead, please, we would encourage connecting with your entire group beforehand by setting up a WhatsApp or a text thread or whatever form of communication you feel most comfortable with to make sure you all can meet up on the day. You can keep each other updated throughout the day. Number two is assign roles. So once you've connected with your team, ensure that you've identified roles for each individual. The main roles are the facilitator, which is you all, the storytellers. So this is impacted folks who have direct stories related to our policy platform, and note takers. So usually this is the legislative lead facilitator because you already have a notebook, but if anyone feels like they want to take that on, identify that person ahead of time so they know to take notes at the top of the meeting. And finally, if there's anyone in your group that needs an interpreter, make sure that the interpreter knows of the time. Again, we'll have interpreters available at IDA, just making sure that they're accompanying you on those visits. And just a note, one person can have more than one role. As I said, you can be the lead and the note taker and the storyteller if it's applicable. But do what feels most natural and identify those roles beforehand so you can go in to your meeting more organized. Number three is bill and budget priorities. So once you've assigned roles and introduced yourselves, you're going to identify which legislative or budget priorities from the policy platform you would each like to present on. I know there's a lot of bills this year. I know all of our organizations work on different buckets of work. We would strongly encourage that you choose bills from our policy platform to lobby on. Our process for this was a voting process. So the bills on the platform are the bills that a large majority of our attendees have identified as very important. These are the ones we need lifts on. These are the ones that we have trouble getting across the finish line for one reason or another. So would highly recommend uplifting one of those policies. Next slide, please. Next, I'm going to go through a step-by-step agenda for the day of. So as I mentioned, this is the legislative visit guide. This is a copy of it. It'll also be sent in PDF form to you after this call, so you can review it. I took directly from this sheet, so this should all be consistent information when you get to IDA. Next slide. And there's 7 steps. So we'll start with step 1, visiting your legislator's office with purpose. Here's a suggested script to when you go in the office most regularly. There's a scheduler up front. And you can say good morning or good afternoon. We have an appointment to talk to assembly member, senator, or the staff name if you're meeting with staff about priorities for this year's Immigrant Day of Action. If you have an appointment, they should already know that they're meeting with you. So it should be pretty fast, but here are some helpful tips. Plan to arrive at least 10 minutes early. Not only do we have 1,100 people scheduled, but we are not the lobby. We're not the only lobby day that day. There's another large one on in the Capitol that day. So the lines are expected to be long, both to get into the building and for the elevators. In addition, you have to walk over. So I would just assume if your meeting is scheduled for 10:30, assume that it starts at 10:20 and plan accordingly, just so you have that cushion. There's two reasons for this. It's always a good look to be on time. And number two, some of these meetings are only 15 minutes. If it's with a member, they have a tight schedule, they can fit us in for a little amount of time. So we want to make sure that we're utilizing every single minute to the best extent that we can. Number two is map out which floor your meeting will be on in advance. So if you have multiple meetings, especially, note which floors you need to be on. The elevator process is super long, and so once you get to the elevator, you're going to want to know which floor. There's an elevator attendant, and they'll ask you which floor you want to go to. There are directories on the first floor, on every floor, actually. So if you can't find it online, you have those the day of. But it's better to go in prepared just because we do expect it to be a little chaotic that day in the building. Number three, if you have a larger group, I would say anything over 7 people, I would qualify as a large group. Send one person into the office first to check in and see where the member or staff would like to take the meeting. These offices are very small. So having a large group kind of file in is a little overwhelming. They could also just turn around and say, can we meet in the common space instead of in the office? So it's just more efficient to send one person in and then see if you should all go into the office or go somewhere else. Next slide, please. Step 2 is you're going to, once you sit down with whoever you're meeting with, you're going to introduce your delegation and purpose. So go around the room with your name, organizations, and what I didn't include here, but is really helpful is to identify your pronouns and make sure to let them know who is a constituent in the room. Again, as I said at the beginning, members and staff deeply care about their constituents coming up to Sacramento, so that's why it's important to say, hey, this person lives in your district. It's pretty straightforward, but some helpful tips here is if there's an interpreter joining your visit, make sure to name that to the member or staff you are meeting with, introduce your interpreter, and explain that they will be interpreting for the other member of your group. Next slide, please. Step 3, this is the bulk of the meeting. So this is, sorry, it's a little bit of a wordy slide, but this is what we are here to talk about today. So the lead will start the conversation by defining the bills and budget priorities and make a case as to why these are so important, and we'll give some background information as needed. Depending on the roles that you've identified in your group, the lead will not have to do every single one of these pieces. What the lead should do, and there's a suggested script in the legislative visit guide, so don't worry. But you always thank the member or staff for meeting with you. We're here for the annual Immigrant Day of Action. We'll be discussing with you, list out the bills that you plan to go over and why it's important that you're there. Some helpful tips here are to hand them the leave behind first, so they have something to reference. All of the priority bill numbers and relevant information is on there, and it's helpful for them to refer to that as you're going through the meeting. Number 2, if you're meeting with a member that is championing one of our priority bills or has been a champion in immigrants' rights that you know of, I know we all have, this is, for a lot of us, this is not our first time working with electeds. But if you have that background information, make sure to thank them or their staff for their work and leadership. They really appreciate that, the acknowledgement. Number 3, you do not need to be an expert on every priority issue. The most important information is the bill number and the author, which will be in the leave behind. And arguably more important than that is uplifting storytellers, so we can personify the policy that we're talking about. So it's okay if you don't know the answer to a specific policy question. In the leave behind, we've listed out contacts for each of our priority bills. So if you get stuck, sorry, I'm being asked to slow down. If you get stuck, refer to the leave behind document, and the staff can reach out. Or if it's easier, write down the question and you can report it back to Anayeli and I at the legislative lead table, and we can pass off that question to the most appropriate person to ensure that there's follow-up. I'm just reading, I just went over the next point. A suggested script, if you're uncomfortable, is I do not know the answer to that question. Can I follow up with you after this meeting? That's a totally okay answer. And finally, feel free to leave them with your business card. If you've made a connection, particularly with your elected official, we would encourage you to make that relationship for when you go back to your district, and to continue on in that relationship to make sure that your advocacy is heard. But that is step 3. If we could go to the next slide. This is what the leave behind looks like, just for reference. I know you can't see it's a bit small on here, but the contacts are at the bottom. And you can refer folks to that if there's a question that you don't know. Next slide, please. Okay, step 4, make your ask. After you present the issue, answer any questions, your storytellers have spoken, you make your ask. Will the assembly member or senator vote against cuts to the Medi-Cal program that will leave out immigrant communities? Or et cetera, they're all listed here, all listed in the legislative visit guide. Some helpful tips here is a lot of staff will say that they need to talk to their boss first, and that's okay. We're pretty early on in the session, so a lot of members haven't seen these bills yet. But that's okay. Be sure to thank them anyway, and to reach out to the contacts on the leave behind if any questions arise from them or the member. If they say their boss will not support, which is very unlikely, but it can happen, try to identify specifics. And a suggested script here is, can we ask what concerns you have about this fill in the blank? And try to record it in your notebook or on your legislative report back form again, so the bill sponsors can make sure to follow up if needed. Next slide, please. After you've made your ask and you wrap up, thank them for their time. Exchange any business cards. You can ask them for their business card. Sometimes names are hard, like people introduce themselves to me and I don't know how to spell their name, or I didn't catch their last name. So it's always helpful to ask for their business card so you remember to follow up afterwards. And finally, ask for a photo. In your lobby lead packet, you will have, it's like a little sign for IDA that you can take a photo with the staff or member. Some helpful tips here is, if you are not meeting with a member, you can ask to take the photo in front of their office where the member's name placard is. So for example, it'll say outside of their office, Senator Durazo, Senate District X. That's helpful with the staffer, because then you can remember which office that you've met with. We don't always remember staff faces. Number 2, don't forget to hold up your IDA sign, so we know what you were there for. And number 3, text the photo. I'm sorry this isn't filled out. We just onboarded a new member of our communications team, which we're super excited about, and we're going to input her information in this slide. Once you take the photo, you can go ahead and send that to her via WhatsApp or text, so she has access to that. We'll also have her number at the legislative lead table if you lose track of it. You can, and we'll also put an email, but we find that texting is easier on rally days, so we'll have all those options. Next slide, please. Step 6, you're going to debrief with your legislative visit team. So as a lobby lead, it's important to level with your team after the meeting. Sometimes meetings don't go as well as we thought that they would. We get an answer that we don't necessarily want. And as leads, it is our responsibility to make sure that the other members of our group are feeling empowered, or are able to identify where they were satisfied or not satisfied. So some suggested questions you could ask your group post meeting is, how do you feel? What went well? What could have been better? Were there any missed opportunities? Sometimes we don't feel heard in meetings, so this is really a space where lobby leads can take control back of that and make sure that we're learning from that experience. Some helpful tips here is when debriefing, especially if you're still in the swing space, remember to be aware of your surroundings. The swing space is very small and folks are walking around all the time. You do not have to be at a whisper, but you know, try not to yell or name names out in common spaces. You just never know who's walking by. It's happened to me a couple of times where staffers will walk out behind me and like use the restroom or go to a different meeting. So just be aware of your surroundings and make sure that it's kept private. And next slide. This is the last step to fill out legislative report back forms. They are a necessary evil, I fear, but they are super helpful for our team and the sponsors of our priority bills to ensure that we're doing the appropriate follow-up and getting ahead of questions if we don't know about them already. That is why we are so grateful for you all, because we can really divide and conquer during this day. And it's really helpful to hear your feedback. Some helpful tips. Well, I'll also just back up for a moment. You can use a QR code on the back to do it on your phone if you don't want to write it out. And that will be, the QR code will be on the back of the legislative report back form. Some helpful tips is this doesn't just have to be about the visit. We would love to hear your feedback on anything else, including scheduling process, trainings, anything. So this is a great place to share that. And we really do take that into consideration after IDA and how we plan for the next one. Next slide, please. This is a photo of the legislative visit report back form that you will receive in your lobby lead packet. Next slide. And I'm just seeing a question in the chat that I can answer super quickly. Yes, there is a list of policies that we are pushing, and we will share out that policy backgrounder in the materials for this training. Additionally, our wonderful policy team did a training last week on our policy platforms and answered questions. So we can also send you a link to that presentation if that would be helpful. Okay. The swing space and what to expect. The swing space is where all of the legislative office buildings are. So it's separate from the Capitol building, like the iconic white Capitol building. The legislative offices are not in there. That's where our rally day will be. The swing space is a different building. So there are some helpful things to know and keep in mind about the swing space. Number one, there's a metal detector and x-ray machine to enter. So just keep that in mind. That's why it does gum up the process to get into the building, just because it takes time for people to pull their things out. You always have to take your laptop out. So to the extent that you can bring as little things as possible into the space, it'll just make it much more efficient to get in. I would also avoid glass. I know some people have like glass water bottles. Sometimes they can be funky about bringing glass in. So just something to keep in mind. Every floor has the following that's accessible to everyone who's in the building. So every floor has restrooms, every floor has water refill stations, and every floor has common meeting areas. The common meeting areas look different on each floor. Generally, there's tables and chairs. We would suggest that for a debrief while the meeting is fresh in your mind. You can also hang out there if you do get there earlier to go over, prepare for your meeting, etc. Those are open to you all. If you have multiple visits and you're going to be in the swing space for a while, there's a cafe on the 3rd floor. If you're feeling like you want a coffee or a little something to eat, it does close at 2 p.m. though. which I think won't be a problem for most of us, given the IDA program closes out at 2:30. Finally, as I've said multiple times, is the elevators can get busy. They are weird. They have elevator attendants. They don't have buttons actually inside of the elevator. They're outside on each floor. So if it is busy, if the line's looking really long, and if you're willing and able, we would recommend using the stairs. That's why I would also advise on giving yourself more time before the meetings, just in case you do have to take the stairs. I don't know about you all, but I get winded easily, so I need some time to climb those. But yeah, those are just helpful things to keep in mind as you plan out your visit. Next slide, please. That's the end of the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. I see a lot in the chat. Shout out to my team who's been answering those. Are there any questions? Folks, feel free to put up your hands. If it hasn't been answered in the chat already, I'm happy to help. Yes, Priscilla.
Sorry, I don't know if this was already asked or not, but I know we're getting the lobby leads are getting those packets. Will this also be sent via PDF to our emails after
Yes.
today? Okay, perfect.
Yes,
Thank you.
all the documents via PDF and in physical form at the event.
Thank you.
Of course. Raul?
Yes, thank you. 2 questions. I have not scheduled myself for legislative visits. Can I still do that?
Did you sign up for
Yeah.
legislative visits?
Well, only at the very beginning. I have not said who. I have not done the specific.
Okay, Anieli, my colleague, I'm gonna pass it to her next to go over an update on the scheduling visits process. So I think she may answer your question there, but if not, I'll put our movement building team's emails in the chat so we can make sure we have you sorted out.
Thank you. And the second is for the how many chairs will you have at the main gathering? And can we just take any chair or are they assigned?
Can I pass that question to movement building?
Yes.
You know that?
Hi, Raul. Shares will be on a side for the external events that are going to be happening outside the Capitol, so no worry. If you want to bring an extra chair, please go ahead. We do have over 1,200 people registered, so I do want to share that and shout out to community for rolling out for this year's event, and are expecting to have sufficient seats and facilities for everyone who's going to be there.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Raul. Abraham?
Yeah, thank you so much, Chloe, and thank you to the CIPC team. I've been trying to be very public about the thanks that we're trying to give. I understand how the amount of work IDA is and the amount of just effort that your team has been. It does not go unnoticed, Chloe. So thank you and the rest of the CIPC team for always coordinating such an incredible event. But having said that, I know I put this in the chat box. I know we have to also just reply to that. We'll get an email, but just to confirm, super excited. We're taking over 30 Stocktonians up to IDA to do our legislative visits. Those will be really, really awesome. We're planning on sending a coordinating final email by the end of this week. On that email that Patrice is sending, is the address going to be included about where the registration table is? I know historically it's always in front of the Capitol, but we didn't want to send that out without confirming with you all first if that's where registration is going to be. So I'm just confirming that the rally address will be in that email that Beatriz has been flagging in the chat.
Yeah, thank you for that question. The address will be in the materials that we send out. For clarity purposes, and thank you for bringing this up. Unfortunately, there's another lobby day that day in front of the Capitol building. So we're going to be on another area of the Capitol called Area 27. And we will include a map on how to get there, but it's off. If you're looking at the Capitol building, it's to the right and it's a lawn space closer to the swing space side. But we'll include a map in the materials. Perfect. Manuel? Manuel, did you have a question? maybe we'll give Manuel a couple minutes. We can go to Stuart for now.
Can you
Hi.
hear me?
Thank you for doing this. I just have a quick question. Are we supposed to fill out one of the response forms after each visit or just after all the visits are done?
After each visit, ideally, and we'll have multiple copies in your folder if you want to fill them out in person as opposed to the QR code. Some folks have done it where they include all visits on one form. That's okay too, as long as you identify which visit or which feedback pertains to which visit. So it can get confusing. That's why we would recommend doing one per visit.
Great, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so I didn't find my microphone. So anyway, so the question is kind of the same with the one before. It's about the address. So there is going to be a rally in the registration table. So is this going to be happening in the same address or are they separate locations?
In the morning when the event starts, so check-in begins at 8:30 at the rally area, which is area 27. Beatriz just put it in the chat. It's on N Street between 12th and 13th Street. It's on the Capitol grounds. It's not in front of it. It's the lawn space on the other side of it. That's where the rally will be. That's where check-in will be. That'll be our home base. And then if you're doing lobby visits, it'll be in the swing space, which is about a 5-minute walk from the rally space. But in the morning, you'll come to the to area 27 first.
Oh, area 27. Thank you.
Of course. Anna?
Hi. Yeah, I was having a hard time online finding a schedule. I hear that you just said check-ins at 8:30. I'm assuming just regular business day hours till 5 p.m. or are we going later? Just wondering what the schedule is for the day.
For the screen share, I think Daniela, can you go back to the program slide? It's towards the beginning so we can reference it. Yeah, check-in begins at 8:30 and the program will end at 2:30. And you can see here on the screen the breakdown of everything. And in materials sent out later this week, we'll also send a program agenda.
Can I say something?
Yes.
So my group is coming. We are traveling on track. So I think we're going to be landing in Sacramento around 9:22. And then we have to walk to the Capitol. So it's going to take us probably 15 minutes. So I guess we're going to be there between 9:30, 9:40. Is that too late?
No, I don't think that's too late. Check-in and breakfast go from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then our welcome and community grounding will begin at 9. We'll go from 9 to 9:30. So you are that timing that you shared, you said you'd get in at 9:22?
At the train station.
Yeah, I think that timing sounds good. You'll get there before the 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Before breakfast closes.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. Okay, I want to leave enough time for Anieli to go over scheduling. So I'm going to stop here. We're going to do some Q&A at the end in case there's any outstanding questions. And I will also be monitoring the chat while Anieli is presenting to help answer any questions. But Anieli, take it away.
Thank you, Chloe. Yeah, as Chloe mentioned, I just wanted to give a brief update regarding our legislative visits for this year and also answer a few frequently asked questions to make sure that we're all on the same page. So if you can please go on to the next slide, Daniela. Thank you. Okay, so a quick overview of how many visits we have so far. We have 57 meetings confirmed as of this morning, which is very, very exciting. Thank you everyone for your patience as we've been sending all of the materials to you for your meetings via email. And for folks who have been scheduling visits for your group, we really appreciate you taking that initiative and for updating that roster so that we know what the status of your meetings. I wanted to quickly uplift, as many of you know, this year legislative visits are being organized by district. So there is a possibility that if someone in your organization is signed up for one meeting, you may not be in that same meeting. It just depends what districts you indicated on your registration form you wanted to meet with, or what members from that district you wanted to meet with. So just wanted to flag that you may not all be in the same meeting. And this is just to help with overcrowding and to ensure that our meetings are not too large. Because as Chloe mentioned earlier, the swing space is fairly small. So we want to make sure that we have an appropriate size for our groups. And to see which visits have been confirmed for your groups, please visit the IDA 2025 lobby days scheduling roster. This roster has been shared out in all of the emails that we've been sending over to you all regarding your meetings. And if you also look at your district tracker, you can find your meeting details there as well. And you can find it on like the left-hand side on your district tracker towards the bottom next to where you input your information. It'll look something like this. So for example, if you're meeting with a staffer, it'll say the name of the staffer, their position, the time that you have your meeting set at, and then the location of the swing space. So the location of the swing space is 1021 O Street. So just wanted to name that there, but that is the swing space. And then it'll have the suite number as well to help folks know which floor they need to be on as they go for their meetings. And if you are scheduling visits for your group, please fill out the roster form so that we know the status of your meetings and we know which meetings you've confirmed for your group. This is helpful for us, as Chloe mentioned. We have a schedule the day of that we kind of refer back to. So it would just be helpful to know which meetings you all will be participating in if you're scheduling for your own group. And as well, please fill out your district tracker. And if this could be done by tomorrow, end of day, that'd be really great so that we're prepared for next week and have all of this information before April 9th. And I also wanted to share out that we created a Google form for folks who are scheduling for their groups but have not let CIPC know or have not received any materials from CIPC to fill out by tomorrow, end of day. This will let us know who is like which offices you're meeting with, and also so that we can send you all the appropriate material and also keep track of which meetings you're scheduling. And the Google form will be linked on the slides as well as in the chat box. So please keep a lookout for that. And last reminder, I know this is a lot on the screen, but last reminder, if you're scheduling visits for your group, please send out confirmation emails to offices by this Friday, April 4th, just to triple confirm that your meetings are set. There could be changes day of, but just want to have that extra confirmation before April 9th. And you can find the email templates in your district trackers under the tab, I believe it's called email templates. So please refer back to that if that's helpful as you're sending out these confirmation emails. If CIPC has been scheduling meetings for your group, you don't need to worry about this. CIPC will be sending out these confirmation emails to offices. Next slide, please. Okay, so now I wanted to quickly go over some frequently asked questions to make sure that we're all on the same page. The first question that we've been receiving a lot is, I signed up to participate in a legislative visit. Where do I get the information for my visit? So you should have received an email by now, including your meeting information, district tracker, and the roster. Please double check if you've received this in your inbox. And if you haven't, and you registered before March 14th, please email Jesus Ramon and CC AJ. Their emails are linked here and will also be in the chat for you all to access them more easily, and let them know that you haven't received your information for your legislative visits. But please double check in your emails to make sure that you haven't, because we have been sending out quite a few emails, so just want to make sure those haven't been getting lost. Next question is, how do I know who my legislative lead is? So we've been coordinating legislative leads via email, and legislative leads should be filling out that information on their district tracker so that folks in your group can refer back to your district tracker and know who will be leading that visit. And we've been coordinating this via email. And if no one in your group has indicated that they'd like to be a lobby lead, we do encourage you to be your group's lobby lead if you have experience in legislative visits and feel comfortable to do so. However, if no one in your group has capacity, we do ask that you let us know so that we can coordinate someone to come support you all in leading this visit forward for your group. And I see a hand raised, but I'm going to leave questions for the end, if that's okay, because we have a couple more questions I wanted to review. Next slide, please. Where do I find the information to prep for my meetings? So as mentioned earlier, you will find these materials on the IDA landing page, as well as the e-blast that will be sent out to everyone later this evening. So please keep a lookout. The e-blast will have everything that you need to prepare for your meetings and refer back to. And then you'll also have those same materials the day of when you check in on IDA. How do I find my group members for a visit? So via the email threads that we've been sending out for folks regarding their meeting information and their meeting details, we've been asking groups to coordinate a quick Zoom call beforehand, just so you all can familiarize yourselves with one another and like coordinate roles for the meeting and just be extra prepared beforehand. So again, please check your emails to make sure you haven't missed any emails between group members and between CIPC staff. And the last question is, where is the legislative leads table located? So as Chloe mentioned, this year we're going to be at area 27. And the legislative leave tables and registration tables are going to be towards the back of the space. So once you enter the area 27, you'll see them towards the back. It'll be kind of towards the fence. And then there also will be signs on each table indicating which one's which to help you locate the legislative leads table. And on the day of, we're asking all legislative leads to please check in first at the registration table before making your way over to the legislative lead table to receive your materials to lead your meetings. And then as Chloe mentioned, we'll be there, her and I will be there from 10 to 2 p.m. to answer any questions that you may have regarding your visits or anything that may come up day of. Next slide, please. So that's all for me. I want to open it up for questions. I see we have a hand raised, so I'll pass it over to you, Yaneri.
Okay, hi. I'm just overall confused. I signed up for the legislative registration, like the original, like you go to the website and it had the 2 days. That's all I've done. And I haven't gotten the only email I have from CIP or from y'all is the Immigrant Day of Action Day 2 updates, and that's it.
Did you register by March 14th?
I don't remember. I'm not sure.
I will flag that March 14th was the deadline to register and indicate that you needed CIPC support to schedule meetings. But if you have any questions, if you could please email Jesus Ramon, and then we can kind of figure it out offline if that's okay.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Raul?
Thank you. Question, what is the recommended parking for those of us that are going in individual cars? And 2, are backpacks recommended or to make it easier to get into the building?
Yeah, so for parking, there is street parking, correct me if I'm wrong, Chloe, around the area. There also will be parking garages nearby the Capitol. I'm not sure if this information will be included in our e-blast. Does someone from the mobility team know if we have parking information? I'll double check with our team to see if we can get that as well. But yeah, there'll be street parking as well as parking garages near the area.
In the street parking, is it meters? Can we pay with card? Should we? Please tell us a little more.
Yeah, it should be meters, and you can pay, I believe, with quarters, and then there's an app called Park Mobile. I could put it in the chat if that's helpful, where you can pay on your phone if that's the easiest.
Yes, thank you. How about the backpacks?
The backpacks, we recommend a regular backpack is fine. As Chloe mentioned, if you all can please just minimize the amount of things that you have in your backpack, because when you go through the metal detectors, you do have to take out like any electronics that you have with you. So yeah, I think just a regular backpack is fine, but just minimizing what you have inside of it. Well,
Ellie, if I could add, you can also leave backpacks if you're traveling from out of town. Obviously, understand you're bringing more items. You can leave your backpacks if you feel comfortable at the rally space. Anieli and I will be at the table. I'm happy to watch things if folks need. But if you go into the space for a lobby visit, we recommend bringing as little as possible just to make the check-in process more efficient through security.
Thank you.
thank you, Chloe. I think Anna was next.
Yeah, I'm in SAC locally, and I was just gonna say, if just for people who are not in SAC, parking down there is pretty full already, not on a day where there's gonna be like 2,000 extra people. So give yourself a lot of time and try and plan like where you're gonna park. Street parking fills up so fast down there. So and there's like no matter what, you're gonna have to walk a few blocks at least from where you park. So just know that it's going to probably just calculate at least an extra half hour for parking to get to where you need to be.
Thank you, Anna. PJ?
Good morning. I have a question about ICE. If ICE do show up on site, targeting our impacted folks, is there a person that we can check in with, or like, is there a plan for folks who's impacted, like an area or somebody that they can go to for support?
Yes, so we do have a like safety security plan. I believe this is being shared more in the chat. But we also do have lawyers on standby in case anything does happen. We can have like any legal advice that we may need.
I can add to that too, Anayeli. I'm Daniela. I will be one of the people on the safety team that day of. So if you want to drop my email in the chat, I'm happy to answer any additional questions you may have. Do want to reinforce that we do have a legal team there. We will have peacekeepers to support in any way should an issue come up. But thank you for asking that. We will be sharing that information via email as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. Claudia?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the parking piece. I'm in Sacramento a lot, and I really recommend that people use ParkWiz to book your parking in advance. There's a lot of hearings going on right now in numerous types of committees, so you will not find any parking unless you book in advance. Especially Capitol Garage, where Starbucks is usually really packed, closes at around 8, and so if you can download ParkWiz and pay in advance, that is highly recommended. Otherwise, there's Lincoln Plaza, which is maybe like a mile away from the Capitol, which I would recommend. And Lincoln Plaza is where CalPERS is at. And so you can leave there and then maybe take a lift or walk. It's like a 15-minute walk to the Capitol. But those are the big two things I recommend. ParkWiz, find parking and book it now, or park at Lincoln Plaza.
Thank you, Claudia. That's really helpful to know. And we're going to be noting these in the chat as well for folks.
Anieli, could I just, before we take more questions, our team can stay on a few more minutes. But for folks that need to hop off on the hour, we will be having a training tomorrow going over bus captain training and safety plans. So we can send that information out in the follow-up if folks are interested in attending. It'll be tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Again, tomorrow, Friday, April 4th, 11 to 12:30. Pass it back to you, Anieli.
Thank you, Chloe. Yaneli, did you have another question? I see your hand is still raised. Okay. Anna or PJ? Or was that your hand?
I'm
raised?
sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
No worries. PJ, did you have another question for us?
Wait, do I have a question? No.
Yes, your hand is, okay. Okay, sounds good. Any other questions before we hop off?
Yes, I have a question. I got the email from Jesus. It's I need to.
Araceli, it's hard for us to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. So I received the email from Jesus with the spreadsheet to sign up, but I'm just having trouble. This is my first time. I don't know where I need to put my name. I don't know if I'm kind of a little bit confused, but if you guys can help me with that, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, so you should have received two spreadsheets in that email. The first is a lobby day roster. And if you're not scheduling for your group, you don't have to worry about filling anything out on the roster sheet. That's only for folks who are scheduling and for the CIPC team to fill out for the organization that we're scheduling for. But if you can fill out just your information on the district tracker spreadsheet, so it'll have different sections will include, it asks for your name, organization, contact info, etc. That would be helpful for your group to know. Beatriz?
Yeah, I just want to say, given that it's your first time, we understand that it can be a little bit overwhelming and confusing. I believe my colleague Jesus Ramon just put a something in the chat asking that they will reach out to you one-on-one to send you more information. If you have anything else to add, Jesus, to help them out, feel free to jump in.
Thank you, Beatriz.
Yeah, sure. And first I want to thank everyone for the amazing levels of outreach. I mean, for the amazing levels of turnout. Very happy to see just all of the back and forth emails that I've been able to exchange with a lot of you, and I'm very thankful for that. I do want to say, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is going to be in the chat. In addition to that, I did want to say, please do take a moment before you reach out to review your emails. One thing that might be helpful is to look up my email and see if there's any clarifying information that you might not have gotten to. Another recommendation that I'm going to ask, I know we are running around, we are finalizing travel plans. I'm going to ask you to go back into those emails and give a second or maybe third pass at reading, just in case there's a detail that you might have missed. Just so that we can make sure that those who might need a little bit more one-on-one support can get that. But other than that, please feel confident in reaching out. My email is in the chat. I want to be your best friend. I'm going to be at the legislative table during IDA. And so if you are still feeling a little bit uneasy, show up early, reach out to me. You see my face. We can chat a little bit more during the day of. And again, very thankful for y'all. And again, my email is in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus Ramon. I appreciate you managing those emails. Okay, are there any other questions? All right, if folks don't have any questions, I can turn it over to Chloe. Is there anything else, or are we okay to end here?
Just quickly, we'll be sending out evaluations for the trainings. We want to hear your feedback. We want to make these better and ensure that folks feel prepared. So the recordings, the slide decks, and the evaluations for these trainings will be sent out this afternoon. Thank you again for attending.
Thank you.
I'm going to close it out since we have that other 11 a.m. and then we can debrief after. Gracias, equipo. Take care, folks. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Gracias.